I have soldiers.
We need a leader. Be a leader. Be a leader.
Start with respect.
I have tried to, sir, and I've tried to.
You started escalating.
I do that because I'm a Marine and I have lived, I've fought for our country, and I have this emotional response. I do this with everybody. I do this with my family. I do this with my wife.
We need a leader. We
This
don't
is
support
what it looks
Israel.
like.
Ma'am.
We do not support Israel. We do not support Israel. How many times do the American people have
This was
to
not
say
race bait.
that?
This was
It's
genuine.
not
Do
about you.
not
It's
It is
about
not.
the American people.
This is how.
Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to this channel. Now, we need to have a serious conversation about what's unfolding right now as tension rises between the United States, Israel, and Iran. While the headlines focus on military strategy, airstrikes, and political alliances, there is another side to this story that isn't getting attention, and that's the growing unease within the US, the military itself, and the emotional toll to this situation is taking on everyday families across America. Let's first watch these clips and I'll be back.
I'm going to be honest, I can't go to Iran. I can't deploy to Iran. And it's not because I don't want to. I want to serve my country. It's just that I will be an OPSEC liability. And
according to a new report, there's been a 1,000% increase in U.S. troops seeking what's called conscientious objector status, meaning they would be objecting to going to fight in the Iran war. A military official said that a ground operation would be an absolute disaster. We don't have a plan for that. We can't even fully defend a single land base in the theater. Additionally, a veteran and a reservist who mentors younger officers told HuffPost her contacts are expressing a loss of faith to a new degree. She said, "I'm hearing out of service members' mouths the words, 'We don't want to die for Israel. We don't want to be political pawns.'" And another reservist in touch with current troops separately reported hearing similar comments. The first reservist continued by saying, "I've shared conscientious objector information 6 times in the past 2 weeks, and I've been in the military almost 20 years. I've never had people reach out this way." The executive director of the Center of Conscience and War said his group in the past would hear from between 50 and 80 troops annually. However, this month he's seen a 1,000% increase, saying at least one new service member now contacts the organization daily. The reservist said the lack of a clear, consistent narrative justifying the Iran war is a key source of discontent among troops, demoralizing those who believe a poorly planned conflict is placing them in unnecessary danger for no identifiable strategic benefit.
I posted yesterday that US military are quitting in droves. A lot of you were shouting, "Are you sure? Fake news, blah, 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 east, west, north, and south." Now listen, welcome to major breaking news. Now, according to the circulating report, some military personnel are reportedly questioning or resisting certain deployment order connected to the war efforts. These soldiers urge that the conflict may raise serious constitutional and legal concern, claiming that their oath is to defend the Constitution rather than to follow orders that believe could violate national or international law. Supporters of the soldiers argued that military personnel have moral responsibility to question actions believed may be unlawful or unjust. While critics, however, warned that widespread refusal of order could determine the stability of the armed forces and awakening in the structure that holds the military together. I hope you have heard. But now you that's actually watching, I want to ask you one question. Will you like to go and finish something or move into something that you were never prepared for, that you were never planned for, that you were never coming to defend for? Will you?
How much louder do you want to talk?
I speak
How
loudly
much
because of
louder do you want to
PTSD.
talk, Marine?
Listen, sir.
Everybody, this Marine wants to be heard.
I can't
Come
help
on down here.
I do want to be heard because I am personally affected. My wife is Palestinian. My wife is Palestinian. I have soldiers.
We need a leader. Be a leader. Be a leader.
Start with respect.
I have tried to, sir, and I've tried to.
You started escalating.
I do that because I'm a Marine and I have lived, I've fought for our country, and I have this emotional response.
Thank you for your
I do this with everybody. I do this with my family. I do this with my wife.
We need a leader. We
This
don't
is
support
what it looks
Israel.
like.
Ma'am.
We do not support Israel. We do not support Israel. How many times do the American people have
This was
to
not
say
race bait.
that?
This was
It's
genuine.
not
Do
about
not do
you.
this. Do not.
It's
It is
about
not.
the American people.
This is how the American people
It's about
feel.
the
We do
American
not want to
people.
die
We
for
represent
Israel.
the people. Genocide! You're complicit in a genocide! Eddie, there's a genocide! Eddie, there's a genocide! Come on, Eddie. There's a genocide! You are complicit in genocide of the Palestinian people! You are complicit! Come on, Eddie! Eddie, help us! Eddie, help us save them! Come on, Eddie! The Israeli terrorists are committing a genocide, and the U.S. Congress and Senate are complicit in funding the bombs that are forcing children to be slaughtered and massacred. Shame on this government. The United States of America is complicit in genocide. The Israeli terrorists are forced.
Our senators are willing to send our men and women to die for Israel.
Today is my rest day after my slow 10 miles yesterday. But the only thing I can do is get outside, find some fresh air, and pray for peace.
Hello, y'all. It's Deneen J. Sings. I want to read something to y'all about our military right now and this crazy war over oil and stuff. So, what I'm reading is, in an unprecedented act of defiance, active duty U.S. Army soldiers at multiple bases across the United States and overseas have begun openly refusing orders to deploy to the escalating war against Iran, publicly denouncing the conflicts as illegal and unconstitutional, and declaring they will not participate in what they call an illegal war of aggression. Videos and statements circulating from Fort Bragg, which is now Fort Liberty, Fort Hood, Fort Campbell, and several overseas posts show soldiers in uniform stating variations of, okay, this is not a defensive war. There is no imminent threat to the homeland. Congress never declared war. We will not deploy to kill and die for oil, politics, or foreign lobbies. We swore an oath to the Constitution, not to endless wars. I applaud them. The refusals, estimated in the low thousands so far, but are growing rapidly, represent the most significant military dissent since Vietnam. Key developments here. Entire platoons and companies reportedly standing down from pre-deployment training, soldiers citing lack of congressional authorization under Article 1, Section 8, some invoking, I don't know what this is, Nuremberg principles, and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is called UCMJ, Article 92, lawful orders only. Viral clips showing troops burning their deployment orders or turning in gear. Immediate fallout. Pentagon placed multiple units on lockdown. Court martials and Article 15 proceedings already initiated. The White House called the refusals mutiny and disgraceful.
Now, after watching these clips, I believe you agree with reports, discussions, and testimony suggesting that not every U.S. service member is on board with the idea of another potential war in the Middle East. Some are questioning deployment orders, Others are choosing to leave the military before they get sent overseas. And in rare but notable cases, there are even conversations about refusal. That alone tells you something deeper is happening beneath the surface. Now, to understand why this matters, we need to look at the bigger picture. The conflict between Israel and Iran didn't start yesterday. This is years, decades of tension building up. Iran has built influence across the region through alliances and proxy groups in places like Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Yemen. Israel, on the other hand, sees Iran as a direct threat to its existence and has repeatedly taken action to limit Iran's military capabilities. And then you have the United States, a long-time ally of Israel, with military bases, troops, and strategic interests all across the Middle East. So, whenever tensions between Israel and Iran escalate, the US is almost automatically pulled closer to the edge of the conflict. But here's where the things get different at this time. The American public, and especially many within the military, are not looking at this situation the way they did 20 years ago. Coming to think about it, many of today's soldiers either fought in Iraq and Afghanistan or grew up watching those wars unfold. They saw the promises that were made, the justifications that were given, and the reality that followed. 2 decades of war, trillions of dollars spent, thousands of lives lost, and for many, the outcome still feels unclear. So when discussions of another Middle East conflict start heating up, it's not surprising that some soldiers are stepping back and asking questions. The questions like, what is the mission? How long will it last? And most importantly, is it worth it? This hesitation is not just about fear, it's about experience. It's about a generation that seen the cost of war up close. And while soldiers are wrestling with these questions, their families are going through something equally powerful and painful. Across the United States, parents are watching their children prepare for deployment. Some of these young men and women are barely out of their teens. They are being sent thousands of miles away to a region that has already seen so much conflict, instability, and loss. You can imagine the scenes playing out in homes across the country, mothers holding back their tears, fathers trying to stay strong, families gathering for what could be a final goodbye for months or longer. The emotional weight of the moment is something you can't fully understand unless you've lived it. And for many of these families, this isn't their first time going through it. Some have already sent loved ones to Iraq or Afghanistan. They know what deployment means, they know the risks, and that's why the fear hits even harder this time. Now let's talk about the global stakes, because this isn't just a regional issue, it's something that could affect the entire world. If a direct war breaks out between Israel and Iran, it's unlikely to stay contained. Iran has connections with multiple groups across the Middle East, and any large-scale conflict quickly pulls its neighboring countries. The United States would likely be involved, whether directly or indirectly, and as you've seen, the United States is already involved in the war, and other global powers could also be drawn into the situation as well. Then there's the economic side. The Middle East plays a critical role in global oil supply. Now the disruption in the region sends oil prices skyrocketing, which impacts everything from gas prices in the US to food and transportation costs around the world. We've seen how sensitive global markets are to conflict, and this situation triggers serious economic consequences. So when you put it all together, you start to understand why these moments feel so tense. On one side, the governments are talking about defense, alliances, and strategic interests. On the other side, you have soldiers questioning their role and families fearing the most. And here's the bigger picture, brothers and sisters. This isn't just about conflict. This is about shift in mindset. A growing number of Americans are no longer automatically supporting foreign wars, especially in regions where past interventions have had long-lasting consequences. That doesn't mean there aren't serious security concerns. It doesn't mean the situation between Israel and Iran isn't complex, but it does mean people are asking harder questions and they are demanding clearer answers. At the end of the day, the people who pay the highest price in any war are not the politicians or the policymakers. It's the soldiers on the ground and the families back at home. So, as this situation continues to develop, the real questions comes, will those voices be heard? Will the lessons of the past actually shape the discussions in the present? Because history has shown us what happens when those lessons are ignored. Now, if you find this breakdown important, make sure you subscribe to the channel, drop your thoughts in the comments, like the video, and share it with others. These are conversations we need to be part of. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.